Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 396 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me. It means a lot that you're here. I hope you guys all know that. Each and every one of you, I appreciate it. So in episode 395, I mentioned David Goggins saying that the most powerful conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And it really has been taking up a lot of space in my thoughts since I heard that. I mean, I've heard it before from other people, but it is so good to hear it again and again because we forget. Life happens and we get really distracted and we forget how much power the mind can have over us if we're not careful and we just leave it to its own will. When there's a lot going on, we can just fall right back into this habit of unconscious living, which leads to misery. And misery because we're letting the animals run the zoo. We're letting the 2-year-old in our head run our life. Part of our brain literally is like a 2-year-old, and it wants what it wants when it wants it with no thought to the consequences. And then the other part is the adult in the room that knows you cannot just run around with a sharp knife in your hand or eat candy all day or throw fits in the middle of the store because you're not getting that thing you want. We all have those tendencies. Well, maybe not those exactly, but we have tendencies that aren't serving us, and we have also the part of us, the part of our brain that says, you don't want to do that. It's not going to end well. Let's do something different. Let's do something that will serve us. And that's the part you want to work from the most. Now, I noticed this week, well, I've been noticing for the last probably few weeks that I've been eating a lot more sugar lately. And I know this is kind of a superficial example, but I always say this. It applies with everything. It's not just applying to what I'm about to say. You can apply this to your own life. So I have noticed that I've been wanting a lot more sugar. I've been craving it quite a bit. And once my body just gets a taste of it, it's like a sugar monster. Is that like that for anyone else? And it isn't just my weight that it affects, it's everything. And I notice my joints hurt, my mood is affected. Now, I did start to notice that I felt a little fluffy, which is a nice way of saying that I felt fat. So I was talking to Kevin, my trainer, about that, and he said, well, yeah, but you've been really stressed this last month, and misery loves company. Which I thought was kind of a weird thing to say. So I looked at him and I was like, what does misery loves company have to do with anything I just said? And he said, well, cortisol loves sugar. Your stress feeds off sugar. It just makes it worse. It makes it stronger. So of course you've been wanting sugar. The more you eat it, the more you want it, the more stressed you get. And I thought, oh my goodness, what horrible thing doesn't sugar do? But it got me thinking about how he's so right. It's been affecting all of my thoughts. And so it's sort of like a snowball effect. I noticed I was really genuinely telling myself, how fat I felt, how fat I looked in my jeans. They were tighter a little bit. And I noticed that these thoughts, and I was even telling my husband how fat I felt. And of course, he's trying to downplay that. But I noticed that all of that just exasperated my feeling bad. And so as I often do, I caught myself and I thought, okay, how can I flip the script on my thoughts about feeling fluffy without lying to myself? I mean, I have been eating a little more sugar, so I need to really, I need to get it in check. But first of all, though, I did need to see if I had indeed put on weight or if it was just in my head. So I got on the scale, which I do not like to do. I think we've talked about that. And yeah, I had actually put on about 4 pounds. And now my mind wanted to spiral into, oh my goodness, you're putting on weight. You're going to just get fat. You're going to be miserable. None of your clothes are going to fit. I mean, I really was starting to spiral. But I know I have the power to stop the spiral because the spiral comes from the part of my brain that acts like a 2-year-old. So I went into my thinking brain and I said, all right, what can I tell myself that is true, but also empowering? So how can I create what I want instead of spiraling, which will definitely lead me to making bad decisions and being stressed and probably eating more sugar? So I came up with that thought. I'm on my way, or this thought, I'm on my way back to 132. which is my goal weight, which is where I like myself. So I've been just saying that in my head over and over. Anytime I put on jeans and they feel a little snug, or my mind goes to that number that was on the scale, I tell myself, I'm on my way back to 132. And it gives me this feeling, instead of, oh my goodness, I'm just going to keep putting on weight, it gives me the feeling of, I've got this under control and I'm heading back to 132. This is not a problem. This is all under control. I control this. Now, again, that's a little bit superficial, but it works on things that aren't superficial too. Everything always comes back to the power of our mind. The power either you have over the mind or the power the mind has over you. We all have this constant gibberish going on in our head that we mindlessly listen to. And if we're not careful, it'll cause us to be sad for no reason, angry for no reason, afraid for no reason. You know I'm right. We'll have these conversations in our head. So for instance, for me, like if I've been alone, if Eric's working and it's night, I used to think, oh my gosh, someone's in the house. I could hear something. And so I go down this path where I'm about to call 911. I've got myself so worked up. And then my logic kicks in and I get to my thinking brain and it says, hey, why don't you check the cameras first? And I do. And there's been no movement at any doors at all. So I had myself all worked up. Or maybe you imagine conversations that other people are having about you, or you have imaginary conversations with other people in your mind. You're creating things in your mind about other people and what they think of you, to the point where you get angry at them, or you're sad, or all from just an imaginary conversation that would have you mad at that poor person, and they haven't even done a thing. Not that you know of anyway. You're everything you're doing is you're creating it in your head. So when you find yourself spiraling, stop and ask, what can I tell myself that's true, but also empowering? I mean, if you're making things up in your head because a friend hasn't called you, or your partner isn't answering their phone, or you hear a noise in the house, or the scale gives you a number that depresses you, how do you take control of your thoughts so that you aren't creating problems that don't exist or exasperating ones that do? The mind is so powerful. It's either powerful in a way that causes you lots of problems, or it's powerful in a way that causes you to handle problems with dignity and grace. Because we will all have problems. We do. It's part of life. So we aren't trying to stick our head in the sand here, but it's how we handle the problems that matter. It's how we allow our mind to make things worse or allow our mind to make them better. That's what matters. My challenge to you this week is to notice when your mind is starting to create problems for you. Or if you're having a problem, notice how your mind is trying to make it worse. I challenge you to catch yourself and ask, what can I tell myself about this that is true and empowering? Share this with 3 people who you love. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.